Joining us now, though, on the phone is the great senator from Arizona, John McCain. Hello, Senator. How are you? Well, I don't think I want to ask you how you are today. I bet I already know the answer to that.
Who did Jamie pick as an upset? I'm curious.
Cornell she picked. Murray State.
Murray State. Senator, do you know what the Murray State, what their mascot is?
No.
The Racers.
Yeah, we didn't know that either.
They're the Fighting Racers.
We didn't know that
I
either.
thought they were the Fighting Encyclopedias.
No.
Well, I want you to tell Jamie that she knows something that I don't know, and I'm beginning to wonder if they're fixed.
Yeah.
If she picked both of them, I mean, really.
Speaking of fixed, let's talk about the health care bill.
Yeah, really.
Well,
Senator,
first of all, good news. The Coyotes and the Suns are playing far. You and I and Dan Bickle and the others, if we'd have been talking about this 6 months ago, I mean, it's amazing. It's great basketball and great hockey. So that's the good news. The bad news is that they jammed this thing through. Now they're going to jam it through on a thing called reconciliation, and the overwhelming majority of the American people don't want it. They don't like it. It's sleazy Chicago-style sausage making, getting it where it is, and people are in Arizona and across this country are mad as hell. And Saturday I had a town hall meeting in Prescott, sponsored by the Tea Party people, and also out at Sun Lakes in East Valley, and the people are more angry and more frustrated than any time I've ever seen them.
Let's talk about the anger. How angry are you? You've been in Washington a long time. Where does this rank in terms of your disappointment and frustration?
And if you think about it, you were fighting in Vietnam, but this big historical marker, maybe we can go back to LBJ with the Great Society, but I don't remember people being so angry with the government itself when LBJ passed the Great Society and that historic bill.
That's because they had overwhelming majority of Republicans and Democrats that voted for the Civil Rights Act, for Medicare, for Social Security, for all of these other major reform bills and the impact that was associated with it. They would have 72, 73 votes. Never in history has a bill of this magnitude been passed on a just strict party line vote. And if you get a chance, go online. There's a Wall Street Journal piece this morning called "Inside the Pelosi Sausage Factory." I mean, people are as mad about the process and the vote buying and the good deal for the pharmaceutical companies and the Cornhusker kickback and the Louisiana Purchase and all that. So, I mean, it is disgraceful. I've been involved in a lot of bipartisan negotiations and efforts, and I have never would countenance such behavior as these people are doing, actually did up until the vote yesterday.
Right. I think Mac and I are with you on we hate the way this bill was put together. The backdoor meetings, the bribes. We had you on the day where you got into a little bit. You got into it a little bit with the president at the healthcare summit. I thought that was a joke. But Senator, if you put all that aside, it's hard to put all that aside because I hate the way this bill was put together.
Okay,
but if you put it all aside. Are there some good things in this bill? Because I do see a couple of good things in this bill, and I can give you a couple of good things.
I think there's a couple of good things, and I'm sure one of them is that you're going to mention is pre-existing conditions. We wanted to solve that by having the state and federal government put together risk pools so that the insurance companies would bid on treating people with pre-existing conditions. We had medical malpractice reform, which along with defensive medicine, you could save $100 billion a year. I mean, there's a lot of things. There are some things that are good in this, but the cost of it and the debt burden that we're laying on future generations of Americans, plus this establishment of huge new bureaucracies that come between the doctor and the patient. Let me just give you one small example, and I know you know this. There is now a medical reimbursement. There's a reimbursement for physicians who treat patients under Medicare, okay? And we had a thing called a doc fix. What it means is that we would cut the reimbursement to physicians who treat Medicare patients, and we delayed it. Anyway, if we do nothing, with the physicians' payment will be cut by 21% who treat Medicare patients. Well, that's not going to happen. You know, doctors would stop seeing Medicare patients if you cut 21%. We still haven't gotten to the point where we force them to see Medicare patients, okay? So they included they included in this bill that we would have that cut, which is going to, by the way, come to fruition by the fall. Everybody knowing that we're not going to let that happen. Okay, that's $280 billion.
Right.
You take that $280 billion out, my friend, and it doesn't save money. It costs additional money. You see what I mean?
Well,
this is the kind of chicanery that's been going on.
And we saw an article last week where Walgreens is actually not taking any new Medicare patients because the government says, okay, this pill costs $1.10 to buy. We're only going to reimburse you 50% off that.
That was in one state.
Right. But I'm sure the senator realizes that not only is it a big deal in that state, we're going to start seeing doctors saying, you know what, I'll just go into boutique practice. You know what? Pharmacies will not accept your certain insurance cards because they know they won't get paid. I think this is going to cause more problems for people that can't afford health insurance than it'll actually help. Am I on the right track?
No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Walgreens, Mayo Clinic has said that in some areas they're not going to treat Medicare patients. I mean, look, it is a most of all, it's a huge revamping of 1/6 of the gross national product, which the American people, by 2-to-1 margin, they don't want. Now, if we believe in government responding to the people, the people have made themselves clear that they don't want this. Now, some Americans do want this, but by 2-to-1 margins, they want us to stop and start over. Now, the president's very good at his rhetoric, and he says the Republicans want to do nothing. Not true, sir. Not true. We want medical malpractice reform. We want people to go across state lines and get the insurance policy of their choice. We want to reward wellness and fitness. I could give you a long list of things that we want to do, but we want to attack the cost of health care in America, not the quality.
Senator John McCain is joining us. Mac and GAYDOS, 3:43 and 10 seconds in the Valley. A News Talk 92.3 KTAR.
The senator sounded tired. Did you hear him exhale there?
No,
he sounds tired.
I get so frustrated. I'm not tired. I'm invigorated. I'm more
He's never
invigorated
tired
than I have been in a long time, because this is really they are now believing that the American people will forget about this process, appreciate the product, and everything's going to be fine. I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
And I was being facetious. We know you're a fighter. We know you're a tough guy. So what will we see down the road if the fix is in the Senate? We can't do anything about that. What can either Congress or the American people do to really? I don't know if you can totally get rid of this thing, but at least counteract it or counteract it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, fight through this reconciliation thing. The longer that more people know about it, the less they like it. The second thing is that there will be constitutional challenges. We need an expedited process for that to go right to the United States Supreme Court if necessary. We need to get people to register to vote. We need people to continue the Tea Parties and demonstrations and calling in to Mac and GAYDOS and to expressing their views on this issue. And we need to keep people active, and we will not let this stand, and send that message to our elected representatives who voted for it.
But just as a caveat, though, Senator, the Republicans have used that reconciliation before, though. What's the difference? What's the difference here?
Well, never on the scale that this is. Republicans generally used it for what it was intended, which was to reconcile the differences between. You guys always thought that reconciliation was when spouses have difficulties.
That's what I thought.
Anyway, the tax and other budgetary differences. The Republicans probably did some made use of reconciliation that was not appropriate. I will freely grant that, but nothing on the scale of what this is. And when we Republicans also let spending get out of control. That was wrong then. With earmarking and pork barreling was outrageous, and the American people punished us for that. But this is of a size and magnitude that's never been seen before, and clearly out of any imagining. What this will do is erode the 60 vote tradition and process and procedure that's used in the United States Senate. By the way, then Senator Obama attacked it when we were talking about using 51 votes for the appointment of judges, said it was against the precepts of our founding fathers.
Let's talk about the 60 votes in the Senate, because, we thought a couple months ago, well, Scott Brown won in Massachusetts. It didn't mean anything, Senator. It didn't mean anything because we thought it would actually change Washington. We thought it would get Barack Obama more from the left towards the center. America is a right of center country, and Scott Brown winning, we thought, all right, the vote is not going to go down in the Senate. Health care is not going to pass. Nobody likes this bill, but Brown's win did not change Obama's thinking like we thought it would. We were wrong, right?
You were wrong. But it did force this reconciliation because they could not return to the United States Senate because they knew that they didn't have 60 votes. So there was a benefit there. This is just, I think, a fundamental fact. When you look at the role of government, whether it be owning Chrysler and General Motors or what we did with AIG or Fannie and Freddie or all the rest of things that the government is now involved in, that President Obama is governing from the left. And this is a right of center nation. Maybe he will change the way Bill Clinton changed after 1994. But every indication that I have is that I think the only time that he and Mr. Axelrod and Rahm Emanuel and others will learn is when the people render a verdict in November.
Right. Well, with Senator John McCain on News Talk 92.3 KTAR. Senator, can you stick around? We've got to do a break.
Sure.
Okay. Let's stay with the senator then, and when we come back, we'll ask the senator a couple more questions, not only about this health care bill, but in the future, what does this necessarily mean? Like we said before, $18,000 if you make $30,000 a year, if you make $100,000 a year. We'll be back right after this.
93 KTAR.
3:53, 30 seconds. Visiting with Senator John McCain. It's Mac and GAYDOS on a Monday. Let's see. The health care passed last night in the House.
Yeah, the bill went to the House. It is now going to the Senate.
Yes. Senator, here's something that I want to see what you have to say about this. A lot of people who are angry with this bill, and there are a ton of them, they think it's a government takeover of health care. Here's my question. I work for KTAR, but I really work for a larger corporation. This company has many different stations. This corporation has many different radio stations. I have health care. How did the government just take over my health care today? Because I don't see it.
Well, by imposing mandates on your employer that they be a certain level, that by taxing your health care plan, if the government thinks that it's too generous in its provisions, that if a small business or your business is not giving health insurance to all of their citizens, then they will be subject all of its employees, and you will be subject to fines. Look, there's 193 boards and commissions that will govern how health care in America is administered. There's a broad range of ways that's happened. Could I say real quickly, and I know we haven't got much time, this is a fight we can't give up on. It's for future generations of Americans. It is for your kids and grandkids, because we are laying a debt of multi-trillion dollars on our children and our grandchildren, and we can't commit this kind of generational theft. To start with, there are ways to bring down costs and keep you guys with your health insurance, which you like, along with 85% of the American people. But we've got to fight this up until November. Then we can change America.
Here's what Nancy Pelosi said. We'd like your comments about this.
After more of a year of debate, the legislation that will go forth from here has over 200 Republican amendments, and while it may not get Republican votes and be bipartisan in that respect, it is bipartisan in having over 200 Republican amendments.
200 Republican amendments.
That's a good joke. Certainly not any that I saw of any meaning. She's also the one that said we need to go ahead and pass this so that the American people will know what's in it.
Oh, so there really is no, in the reconciliation package, there really isn't anything that gets rid of the kickbacks then?
No, not the. Yeah, and I meant to correct you there. The bill is passed. The president will sign it tomorrow. This is reconciliation that they're trying to fix the problems with it that are so unpopular that they promised the Democrats who, in order to get their votes, that they would fix. They're not going to fix it because we have 41 senators who have signed a letter that we will not agree to any of those fixes. The bill is passed, and the president's going to sign it tomorrow with much fanfare, and they'll probably drink some more champagne. Meanwhile, out in Arizona, people are hurting and people are angry.
Do you support Brewer? Because Brewer says she's going to sue the government. She's going to sue the federal government.
I strongly support Jan Brewer. I'm glad she stood up. Both John Kyle and I read her letter to the president saying that this would have a devastating effect on the finances of the state of Arizona, and I'm proud of the legislators who joined her.
All right, Senator John McCain taking the time out to join us today.
Thanks,
again,
Senator.
Thank you so much for doing that, sir. And hopefully we'll talk soon, but it will be on a little bit of a more positive note, if you will.
Yeah, maybe when Sarah Palin comes to town, which she's doing this next weekend, that'd be good to be with you guys again.
Can she make me a moose sandwich?
No. Jeez. Thank you, Senator. Have a good day, okay?
Okay, guys. See you.